Britain over the past few years has become one of the most openly supportive countries towards the LGBT community. The city of Leeds has played a large part in this in many different ways, helping open the door to the gay community to become much more accepted in society. We'll be looking at the different ways in which Leeds and the people within it have changed in order for Leeds to become a city of acceptance. Is the epicentre of the Leeds nightlife. This area is well known for its inclusive atmosphere and attitude. There are multiple different LGBT-friendly clubs and events that take place here throughout the year. The New Penny opened in 1953 and is the oldest and most well-known gay bar in the city. All the bars and events here are within walking distance of each other, making this the hotspot for the LGBT community in Leeds. At the bottom of Core Lane there's the Cosmopolitan Hotel, where we went to interview Rob. It's an important place for the LGBT community, as a lot of events are held there. So Rob, congratulations on becoming the LGBT Volunteer of the Year. What does the award mean to you?
Thanks very much. It's really nice to get the hourly, to get the recognition, not necessarily for myself, but for some of the projects that I'm involved with and some of the people that I work with. It's really good to kind of get the opportunity to raise the profile of some of that work.
And what kind of projects have you been a part of?
Loads. So, I mean, the main one that's taken quite a lot of time at the moment is the sports one. I'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
But I've also been involved with the Street Angels. So they kind of go out and take care of people on a night out who have become vulnerable for whatever reason. We're looking at setting that up specifically around Lower Briggate, because the area kind of attracts people who are kind of questioning or discovering their identity or their sexuality. People come there and kind of they can put themselves at risk and become vulnerable by that. So it's about taking care of people, really. It's the next big thing that we're going to be working on.
So how do you feel that those projects have benefited the LGBT community in your opinion?
I mean, in the time that I've been doing the work, obviously it's not just me, it's a lot of other people as well. We've seen quite a lot of different changes in the city, cultural changes, because it's one thing, the law saying that we're equal, but it's a different thing when it's changing people's perceptions of people and people's attitudes, and that's where the cultural thing comes in. So from a lot of the work that we've been doing, it's really raised the profile. It's only the last couple of years where the Civic Hall and the Town Hall have been flying the Pride flag for anything other than Pride. So, it's making a visible difference.
So, you're the chair of the LGBT Sports Inclusive project. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the Inclusive Sports Project was set up about 2 years ago in response to a discussion that was had at the Community Hub, where people raised the fact that they didn't feel like they could get involved in groups that were already running, or they kind of reflected on some negative experiences that they'd had at school. So kind of through the Inclusive Sports Project, we've been able to help raise the profile of some groups that are already running, but also kind of responding to the community's needs for new groups that we've set up since then as well.
And what made you want to start LGBT Inclusive Sport?
As I said, that meeting that we had there and that engagement with people, kind of the results that we've had from it. We set up a badminton group last summer and we've got nearly 200 members in there. We've since bolted on a table tennis group onto that. We launched a inclusive rugby group in November last year and we've got nearly 50 players on that already. So, the fact that people are using it and accessing these groups, it shows that there was a need for them there.
So do you feel in 2017 we should still have to segregate LGBT sport from mainstream sports?
There is. The groups that we run are inclusive rather than exclusive. So, for example, with the rugby, we have a number of straight players. We actively promote ourselves as being welcoming for anyone who's gay, straight, or bi, and people take us up on that. The fact that we specifically say that we're inclusive for bi means that we're not excluding them as well, because that's really as important. And it shows that people can kind of work together, but it's a really safe environment. Because if I went along to a regular sports group, I could potentially have to come out every time. Because if someone's asking me, oh, have you got a wife, have you got kids, you know, a girlfriend and things like that, it takes that away. So it turns the tables on the assumptions about someone's kind of identity.
And going back to what you said earlier about the change in the LGBT community and people's attitudes towards it, what would you say the main changes have been?
I think that there's a lot more visibility and acceptance now. I think what really helps is having some high-profile role models. Stephanie Hurst, who announced that their transition a few years publicly. Keegan Hurst, rugby player. So all these people really help with acceptance. Stephanie Hurst, the public response to that was just outstanding, and it really helps people to see that LGBT people are just the same as anyone else. It really helps to normalise it.
Why do you think people still discriminate against LGBT members?
I think it's a lack of understanding, and a lot of incorrect perceptions about people. When you talk about people who are LGBT, you are generally focused in on sexual activity, when that's not what it's about. It's about who you are. It's not about who you are sleeping with. And I think people kind of need to turn their minds around a little bit with that.
Rob mentioned how he had started a number of sports clubs, but what are the current professional sports clubs doing to support the LGBT community? Historically, attitudes towards gay people has been unfavoured in sport, particularly football, with homophobic language used in songs and chants on the stands, leading some gay fans to feel scared and unwelcome at stadiums. This, among many other things, will also have played a part in players not wanting to come out because of the fear of a negative reaction. In fact, the results of a survey taken just last year showed that 72% of football fans have heard anti-LGBT language at matches in the last 5 years, and that 1 in 5 18 to 24-year-olds would be embarrassed if their favourite player announced he was gay. Stonewall, an organisation who fight for acceptance of all people in all situations, conducted that survey, and Leeds United, who play here at Elland Road, were the first British team to support the Stonewall Diversity Champions campaign, which wants to beat homophobia and promote greater equality in football. The club have run the Some People Are Gay Get Over It campaign adverts in their matchday programmes to make fans aware that homophobia will not be tolerated in the stadium, but also in an attempt to change fans' attitudes in general. On a wider scale, the Premier League have also taken action to support the LGBT community. Since 2014, the League and Stonewall have teamed up to make sport everyone's game through the Rainbow Laces campaign. This is when all of the players in the Premier League will wear rainbow-coloured laces in their boots to showcase the LGBT pride flag, while captains will also wear rainbow-coloured armbands. All of this is done to show support for the LGBT community and promote equality to the extremely large audience that the top flight of English football attracts. All of this means that slowly but surely, some good progress is being made in regards to how gay people, especially, are treated and looked upon in football. But in reality, there is still a lot of work to be done before football and sport is seen to be a safe and welcoming place for both LGBT fans and players. We've come to All Hallows Church in Hyde Park, which is an all-accepting church, to talk to Reverend Heston Groenwald. So just arrived at All Hallows Church to speak to Heston about being the Reverend at the church. I think that's it, Heston, there.
There's a balance.
Hello.
I don't want it to be.
Sorry to interrupt.
Hello, it's
Hi.
very nice to see you. Hello Jasmine, how are you?
I'm good, how are you, Heston?
Welcome to All Hallows. Welcome, you lovely guys.
Hello, Heston.
Hello.
So when did you become vicar of the church?
I have been vicar here at All Hallows for almost exactly 2 years.
Do you feel like gay people are drawn to the church? Would this be a church that they would go to, say, over other churches?
Yes, it is. Yeah, and we do have quite a few folks in our congregation who do come a significant distance to be with us. Yes, yeah.
So on the same theme, how would you describe the church's values?
The church's values, I think, are have a lot to do with compassion and have a lot to do with generosity. Compassion, I think, a lot of us in the church have suffered or been made to feel unwelcome in other churches, have experienced a little bit of the pain of the world, whether it's as a gay person or whether it's as an asylum seeker or a refugee, and so want to help others in their suffering. And then generosity, they're a massively generous church. They welcome people into their homes, they feed people, they go and spend time with people if they're in a court hearing, all kinds of things like that. Compassion and generosity, I think, are a good place to start.
Yeah. So you've got a lot of gay members, I assume, that attend church here.
About a third to a half of us are gay or lesbian, yes.
Yeah, that's very
and a few friends who are transgender as well, and that's a different kettle of fish, which I think the church, for all our struggles with homosexuality, we haven't yet got onto transgender issues and other things. That's a little bit beyond us, but here at All Hallows, several transgender friends have been made to feel very welcome, and that's a lovely thing too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you can't actually perform gay weddings at the church, is that right?
That's right. Legally, when I marry a couple as a registrar for the state, I'm only allowed to marry a man and a woman in a church. And the church, the Anglican Church, has asked to be exempted from the law, the same-sex laws of the land. So I'm allowed to marry a man and a woman, but not a man and a man or a woman and a woman. What we are hoping is that might change, that the church might follow the law of the land, and that we might one day drag ourselves into the 20th century or maybe even the 21st century. And here at All Hallows we do try to agitate and to stand up for folks and to drag the rest of the church kicking and screaming with us. It's a slow thing because, of course, there's a lot of disagreement about this. There are people who feel very strongly on both sides of the argument. And part of why the church is so slow on this is because it's trying to do it keeping everybody's sensitivities in balance and trying not to hurt anyone. But when there are two, I guess, very opposing points of view like there are, that's very tricky and very slow.
So what would you say that there's any evidence that God opposes gay marriage?
There are these verses in the Bible that if you take out of context, if you read straight off the page in black and white, clearly they do seem to say that God opposes gay marriage or gay relationships. There's no gay marriage is never really in the picture in the Bible. But when you read it responsibly and through a 21st century set of eyes and learn what the background is and how that background compares to the world that we live in today, there's a lot of good reason to suggest that actually God might well be very in favor of same-sex marriage. That God, as us Christians understand God's very being is love. And what we know about human love in the 21st century, which they didn't know in 8th century BC Israel, is that two men or two women can love each other and thrive and flourish in that love, and for the good of themselves, for the good of each other, for the good of society around them. That just was never on the radar in the world that the Bible was written in. And so we think that it's the quality of the love within a relationship rather than necessarily who's sharing that love. And that is the big deal to God, that God wants us as a human race to abound in love, to grow in love, and that gay relationships, same-sex weddings can certainly be a big part of that.
LGBT discrimination is not as common as it used to be, and discriminatory views are less obvious. But there is still conflict between religious people and the LGBT. Whether this is ever going to change will be a test of time, but the work that has been done to help the community should be recognised and celebrated.